June 12th, 1962, 7:15 a.m., Prison Block B, Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary. Cold, damp air, saturated with salt and despair, hangs in the corridors like fog. Guard Harold Miller conducts his routine morning roll call. It is a ritual that has been repeated here thousands of times. He approaches cell AZ-1435, the cell of inmate Frank Morris. He looks inside. The figure under the blanket lies unnaturally still, facing the wall. A strange, tense silence hangs in the air, broken only by the steady dripping of water from the ceiling. "Morris, get up!" Miller shouts, his voice echoing through the block. But there is no answer. In this place, silence was always a bad sign. The irritated guard, thinking it was another act of defiance, opens the cell door. He approaches the bed to roughly shake the sleeper. And at that very moment, something happens that will forever go down in the history of criminalistics. The head rolls off the pillow with a dull thud and falls onto the cold concrete floor. It is not a human being. It is a dummy, skillfully made from soap, cement, toilet paper, and real human hair stolen from the prison barbershop. This isn't just an escape. It's a mockery, a challenge thrown down to the most impenetrable prison on the planet. Today, we'll take a step-by-step look at their ingenious, almost insane plan. And at the end, the mystery of the letter that, 60 years later, forced the FBI to reopen the case and cast doubt on absolutely everything. To understand the scale of this madness, you have to look into the eyes of the devil. Alcatraz, the Rock, the end of the road for America's most dangerous criminals. His idea was simple and cruel. Even if you perform a miracle and escape from your cell, the icy water will kill you. The temperature was 10 degrees Celsius, even in summer. Death from hypothermia occurs in 20 to 30 minutes at most. But even if you could withstand the cold, another enemy awaited you. The current. Strong, unpredictable currents that did not carry you to shore, but pulled you out into the open ocean toward certain death. The atmosphere was part of the punishment. Psychological torture, constant cold, humidity, the howling wind, and that view, the view of the lights of San Francisco. You could hear laughter, music, car horns from the mainland, carried by the wind. Freedom was so close you could almost touch it, and at the same time, it was on another planet. In the 29 years of the prison's existence, 36 people had attempted to escape. 23 were caught, 6 were shot on the spot, 2 drowned, and their bodies were found. 5 were missing, but they were also officially declared drowned. The statistics were absolute, 0 successful escapes. But the statistics did not take one person into account. Frank Lee Morris, a quiet, withdrawn orphan with an officially measured IQ of 133, placing him in the top 2% of the world's population. A ghost in the system, a man for whom any prison was just another puzzle to solve. With him were brothers John and Clarence Anglin. Raised in poverty, they had been accustomed to surviving and crafting anything from whatever materials were available since childhood. Not geniuses like Morris, but unmatched practitioners. Fate brought together brains and brawn, and they challenged the impregnable fortress. How do you break into the perfect prison with the perfect tool? And they had it. A regular tablespoon stolen from the dining room and sharpened coins. Every evening from 5:30 to 6:30, the prison exploded with the cacophony of music hour. It was their only chance. And under the cover of this symphony of despair, they worked, centimeter by centimeter, gnawing at the damp concrete around the ventilation grate, crumbling from the salty air. Imagine this work, months on end, in the dark, with fingers rubbed raw, listening to every step of the guard. Every scrape of the spoon against the concrete was a risk. but picking at concrete with a spoon takes forever. Morris needed a more powerful tool. But where to get it? The answer was ingenious and absurd: a vacuum cleaner motor. They managed to steal it and assemble a makeshift drill. To hide their work, they created a work of art: fake grates made of cardboard and paint mixed with dust from the floor to match the color perfectly. Imagine that sound. Every screech of the motor in the silence of the night could be their last. But even if they broke through the wall, where would they end up? And more importantly, how were they going to solve the main problem? The problem of the icy water that had killed absolutely everyone before them. The answer to the second question will simply shock you. The passage led to an abandoned, unguarded service corridor about a meter wide. It was a blind spot in the prison. And there, at the top, under the roof itself, above the heads of unsuspecting guards, they set up their secret workshop. Their plan was not just to swim to shore. They were going to get to the neighboring island of Angel, steal a car there, and disappear. For this, they needed a raft. They organized a whole network to steal more than 50 rubberized raincoats from other prisoners. But how to glue them together? Ordinary glue would not withstand salt water. They needed vulcanization. At night, risking being shot on the spot, they climbed onto the roof of the prison block and used pipes like a steam pipe to heat the stolen glue, literally creating the strongest rubber in makeshift conditions. And the pump? How to inflate the raft in complete silence. A small concert accordion, which they also stole and modified, served as a pump. And here is the answer to the question of survival. Morris, who had spent months studying tide charts in the library, realized that there was a short window of opportunity, about an hour between 11 p.m. and midnight, when the current changed direction. At that moment, the water does not carry you out to sea, but rather helps you reach Angel Island. They were going to use their main enemy as an ally. The night of June 11th, 1962. A fog as thick as milk enveloped the bay. The deafening roar of foghorns warning ships drowned out all other sounds. The perfect storm, their chance. The fourth conspirator, Alan West, was unable to climb out in time. His grate was stuck. It was he who, left behind, later revealed all the details of this ingenious plan to the FBI. The trio did not wait for him. They put their creepy doubles in bed. They slip through the holes. They drag a 30-kilogram raft on their backs. They climb rusty pipes to the roof. Ahead of them lay a 15-meter descent down a slippery drain pipe and a roaring black abyss below. They climbed down, inflated the raft, and the three shadows pushed off from the rocks and disappeared into the fog. The FBI launched one of the largest search operations in history. They combed every inch of the bay. They found pieces of a raft, a homemade oar, and a wallet wrapped in cellophane. The calculation was simple. If they had survived, they would not have left such important evidence behind. The official verdict? Drowned. Case closed. End of story? No. This is only the beginning of the mystery, because no bodies were ever found. And then strange things began to happen. First, the crew of a Norwegian cargo ship reported seeing a raft with 3 men in the ocean, and they waved at them. Then it turned out that on the night of the escape, a blue Chevrolet was stolen on the mainland. The thieves were never found. And the mother of the Anglin brothers, until her death in 1973, received anonymous Christmas cards with flowers every year. The handwriting was not that of her sons, but she was sure it was them. And finally, there is this photo. 1975, Brazil. 2 bearded men who look eerily similar to the grown-up brothers. Leading global forensic experts, after studying the photo, said there was a high probability that it was indeed them. But all this was only circumstantial evidence which the FBI dismissed. Until 2013, because that's when a letter arrived at the San Francisco police station. It began, My name is John Anglin. I escaped from Alcatraz in June 1962 with my brother Clarence and Frank Morris. I am 83 years old and in poor health. I have cancer. Yes, we all survived that night, but barely. The author of the letter claimed that Frank Morris had died in 2008 and his brother Clarence in 2011. He offered a deal. He would return to prison for 1 year if he were provided with medical care. He even indicated which city he lived in. The FBI reopened the case. They conducted DNA analysis on saliva found on the envelope. The result? Inconclusive. The samples were too old to prove or disprove anything. Handwriting analysis also failed to provide a definitive answer. The mystery remained unsolved. So what do you think? Was this letter the dying confession of a fugitive who had been leading the FBI on for half a century? Or was it someone's cruel prank, the final chapter in the Alcatraz legend? Write your version in the comments. The FBI still officially believes that they drowned. What about you? Subscribe so you don't miss the next investigations.